What's up, everybody? Welcome back, and today we have an album review. That's right, it is 2020, and I hope you guys are having a good year so far. I know I am. I've got a couple of good records that I've liked so far. The new Eminem record that surprisingly dropped a couple weeks ago I reviewed. We already saw the dropping of a great new indie rock record from the band Blossoms, which I did not review, but I definitely recommend you check out. And today we are looking at a great band and their newest album, and I'm talking none other than the notorious punk rock band Green Day and their new record, Father of All. Now, Oakland rockers, Green Day, been around since the late 80s. You know them, I know them, everybody knows them. But did you know about this record? Did you know about their last record? I mean, not a lot of people who aren't big Green Day fans have listened to the last few records. So let's get a little bit of history going into this one. Their last record, 2016's Revolution Radio, a record with mixed reviews, a record I cared for a lot, had some great singles, had some good songs in the back half. It's the middle where that record kind of fell flat on its face, but there were some great moments on that project, and that was their first normal record, their first non-trilogy, their first non-concept album since 2000's Warning. That's right, 16 years prior was their most recent, I guess you could say, just normal record, not having some sort of twist or sequel or anything about it. So that was interesting. And what has gone on with the band since then? In 2017, late 2017, we saw the dropping of their greatest hits collection. The none other than, of course, God's favorite band. We're talking about it right here. You see it? Who cares? It's just a t-shirt. They dropped the Greatest Hits collection with a couple of singles. One of them wasn't really a single. It was a remake of the last song on Revolution Radio, Ordinary World, featuring Miranda Lambert. I wasn't too huge on that song, I won't lie to you, but their song Back in the USA on that album is extremely underrated. That is one of the best singles that they've come out with ever. Just a nice, simple rock song. And then they announced last year, I want to say it was September, October, they announced they are hitting the road in 2020. They're starting off this decade fresh, and they're going on the Hella Mega Tour with Weezer, Fall Out Boy, and the Interrupters. Interrupters, they're a great sort of just punk pop rock band. Fall Out Boy is fucking horrible. Their old stuff is pretty good. The first two records are listenable. Everything after that has been pure shoveled shit. And then, of course, we're talking about Rivers Cuomo and the boys in Weezer. So enough talking about that. Let's talk about this new record. When they announced that tour, they came out with this single and announced this record's dropping on the 7th of February, aka today. They released the song, the title track, Father of All. Now, this song got mixed reviews, especially considering it came out the same day as a great Weezer track. The song features Billy Joe in falsetto, and, it got mixed ratings, and at first I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this song, especially when I put it up next to that great Weezer song. This song also happens to be the first song on the track listing, but it grew on me, and to this day I do like it. It has a nice, nasty drum beat to start it off, like I said, the falsetto verses, and a really catchy chorus with some funky bass movements in there. Mike Dirnt's doing his usual shit, he's doing some flickety-doos, some strummity-doos, you know how they do it. You know how Mike does it. But yeah, a lot of people were complaining, "Oh, this song isn't Green Day. This song doesn't sound like American Idiot." And those people are fucking stupid. Anybody who uses that to say a song is bad, that it doesn't sound like what your idea of the band is. I mean, this is a whole nother discussion for a different day, but if you say a song is bad because it doesn't sound like the band, then you're just expecting them to put out the same stuff that they've been putting out for their whole career. Especially a band like Green Day, who their first EP dropped 30 years ago. So, this band has to take some sort of evolution. They can't just be AC/DC and keep shoveling out the same 4 chords for 45 years and make a living on it. Because AC/DC's terrible. But we're not talking about AC/DC. If we're talking about AC/DC, you can go do that in the toilet because I'm going to shit myself. But let's move into the second track. Then they came out with the song Fire, Ready, Aim, which was made for the NHL All-Star Game. And goddamn, this is probably my favorite song on this album. Definitely my favorite of the 3 singles that came out. It's a nice, simple, short song under 2 minutes. It's got a sweet riff, and the chorus is extremely, extremely catchy. It's definitely a pop rock song, and in this song, this is the first example of when we hear something you're gonna hear a lot of in this record. Something I have a problem with. We'll talk about that later on. Up next, the song "Oh Yeah" was the third single. So the track list starts with these 3 singles, and then you released all this new music after. Oh Yeah was definitely my least favorite one. At the time of it coming out, I was like, this is not good. Since then, it's grown on me just a little bit. It's still one of my least favorite ones. It just sounds like a bootleg of the song Bouncing Off the Wall, or Too Young to Die. That's what it is. Those were 2 songs off of Revolution Radio, the 2 worst songs off of Revolution Radio. This sounds like both of them smushed together, especially with the way that he sings, Billie Joe sings the verse. It sounds like the bootleg of those songs because of the way that Billie Joe sings the verses, he uses the same cadence, kind of the same notes in the verses. But one thing that I think redeems the track a little bit is the sampling of the Joan Jett song "Do You Want to Touch Me" in the chorus. The "yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah," and then there's like this weird vocal effect that happens, and I really like it. It's different from anything we've heard from Green Day, and I think it works very well. And the next track we have is "Meet Me on the Roof," which after I heard the 3 singles, I thought, oh god, here we go. This is definitely my least favorite song on the album. So one thing, if you don't know, Billie Joe, since Revolution Radio come out, he started his side project, The Long Shot, which consists of some of the members that play with Green Day on tour, and they're really good. They put out a "Love Is for Losers" EP that I thought was very good in, I believe that was 2018, if not early 2019. And I think that's where this song suffers, is that it sounds like it should have been on that EP, which would not be bad had it been on that EP, but Billie Joe takes that long shot-ism and tries to make it Green Day, and it doesn't really work that well. Yeah, this is definitely the weakest song on the album. I don't want to talk about it for much longer, because then, I got my lucky notes here. Gotta read those notes. Next we have Teenager. I was a teenager. Stupid title, but god, this song is catchy as fuck. By the second chorus, I was already singing along the first time that I had heard it. And by the third time I'd listened to the song, I was like, Jesus, why do I already know all the words to this? It's catchy as hell. It's not the best song on the album. It's a very stripped back, simple song. There's nothing that stands out about it, but it is very catchy. It is by no means a bad song. Don't get me wrong. It's a great track. But, like I said, there's nothing that really stands out. Next, we have Stab You in the Heart, which fucking came out of nowhere. I was sitting here listening to this fucking album, and then this surf rock banger just pops up. I was like, holy shit. I don't know what this is, but I literally wrote down, I said, sweet surf rock riff, this shit smacks hard. And I mean, holy shit. I love this track. I really, really like the guitars on this. I like the singing on it. It's another song that doesn't sound like anything we've heard before. I mean, this song kind of reminded me of the song Espionage. It was on a B-Sides album they put out in 2002 that I really liked. And this song brought me back to that, and I was like, holy shit, man, I like this song a lot. But this song is where I started to notice the problem that I mentioned earlier that I have with this album, and that is the that we get in almost every song on this album. Which, I've never been a big fan of the claps. I thought it's kind of a cheesy and corny way to get people to say the song is catchy, and which is definitely a new millennial rock trope that happens a lot nowadays. But this album is jam-packed. I think there's one in almost every song. I mean, Oh Yeah is the only song I can think that doesn't have those in them, and the drum beat is kind of that way anyway. But it's the exact same clap, 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 which when Fire Ready Aim came out, I was like, they're using the same thing that they used in Father of All, but I'll let it slide. And then when I'm listening to this album and I'm hearing it over and over again, I'm like, okay. It's not something that takes over the song, it's something in the background, but you definitely notice it and you're like, okay, we're doing this again. So that definitely deteriorates this album a little bit for me. Up next is Sugar Youth. An interesting song. This is a fast punk jam. I mean, this sounds like this could have been on Kerplunk. This sounds like it could have been on Shenanigans, that B-Sides album they put out in 2002 that I was talking about earlier. It's a repetitive and simple chorus, but the guitars on this song are nasty. It's a nice and short track. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and you're just leaving satisfied at the end. You're like, wow, that, it was a hard rocker, it was a punk rocker. I can get my head, I can get my arms going, I can get moving and grooving, and then the song's over, and you're just like, all right, that was fucking sweet. That didn't overstay its welcome. Like I said, it just kept going, kept grooving. I'm completely fine with it. Let's get on to the next one. And speaking of the next one, Take the Money and Crawl. Now, you may be thinking, Julian, you're fucking blowing through this album. Why don't you slow down? That's how this album is. This thing is 26 minutes long, which is their shortest release, God, I think I want to say of all time. Because Insomniac was only 34 minutes. Kerplunk was around the 30-minute mark. I believe this is their shortest release that they've labeled a full-length album, which is very interesting, very interesting. So, Take the Money and Crawl, which is a goofy but also serious song. There's a slow guitar intro. This is definitely a stadium rock song. I can imagine on this Hella Mega Tour they're going to play this probably on their encore, if not the last song to end the normal set, because this song just has one of those choruses that's going to get the crowd pumping their fists. You're going to get them lighters out, those cameras, you're going to get people moving in a simple way. The lyrics in this song are great. I'm really, really, really a big fan of it. And that takes us into the next song, Junkies on High, which is there. I'm not the biggest fan of this song, and it was kind of just the most nothing song on the album for me. It wasn't terrible by any means. It wasn't like a Meet Me on the Roof, but it was just, it was there, and then it came and passed. And that leads us to the final song, Graffitia, which, cool. It is a cool ballad. It is a great way to end this album. It's a satisfying end. The bridge and the piano use in this song works very well, and the bass is chunky. I mean, during the fucking bridge in this song, when you hear that bass kick back in, you feel it's like the beginning of Peace Sells by Megadeth. When you just hear that chunky bass start going, you're like, oh, man, you can start grooving. But this song doesn't make you groove, you're just going along with it because it's nice and slow, but it also kicks you in the teeth, so I like that about that. I mean, overall, this album did not disappoint. In terms of their latest records, I mean, I liked this one a lot more than I liked all three of the Trilogy albums, but I'm not going to say I liked this one more than Revolution Radio. I'm not going to say I like this album more than 21st Century Breakdown, which is my favorite Green Day album. So, I'd definitely put it above the Trilogy. I like this a lot better than their first two records. Not Dookie and Insomniac. Don't get me wrong here. I'm talking about the Smooth EP, and I'm talking about Kerplunk. So, if I were to... I'll one day do a ranking of all the Green Day albums, or like a worst to best kind of thing, but for right now, I'm feeling like this album is about a 78, 75 to 78 out of 100. Let's go 76.5 out of 100. Like I said, there were a lot of moments on here that, got in and got out before you could think too much about them. The clapping was a little too much, like I said. The 1-1-2, 1-1-2. Wasn't a humongous fan of that. And there were a couple songs on here that could have been, left. But, I mean, think about it. If a couple of these songs were left, you're looking at a record that's only 19 minutes. So maybe they could have been reworked. Maybe they could have been edited or just replaced with a different track altogether. Because who knows how many songs they had written for this album. So I'm going to leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed this record. Give yourself a listen. Give this record a listen. Like I mentioned earlier, that Blossoms record that came out, give that a listen too. If you didn't listen to the Eminem record and you like that, give that a listen too. There have also been a lot of singles that have come out this week and last week. Definitely go check that out. If you are a big Spotify user, Apple Music users, if you're a Spotify user, definitely go follow me on Spotify. It is my first and last name, just like my YouTube channel. I have a playlist there, which is mostly all the songs that I like. I find songs every day that I'm like, oh shit, that's not on this playlist, and it's got about 3,500 songs on it right now for all music listeners. I'm also making a list of the newest singles that have come out in 2020. So if you're looking to get into some new music, I got a playlist for that. So definitely go check out my Spotify. and you'll find some stuff on there. But until next time, guys, until next time, enjoy your day. If you live in a cold state, I'm sorry. The cold weather sucks ass. Snow is terrible. Burn it to the ground. And just like Seth Rollins, I'm out of here. Alright. Order salad. Get some soup. Hello? Soup, salad, coleslaw.